Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody to check out the show notes for all the links that are useful to you and ways you can help us. And I also wanted to remind everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Big Four Accounting Firms. In today's podcast, we're going to be covering some more KPMG news as some interesting news has come out. The first thing I wanted to talk about was news of the KPMG global chair, Bill Thomas, getting involved in the UK with regards to the FRC coming down on them. The FRC was going to issue a letter that was going to be very bad to KPMG, saying that they need to do a better job of their bank audits and just castigating them for doing a poor job of auditing banks. And KPMG has been going back and forth with the FRC for multiple things. Obviously, the Carillion audit, which we speak about a lot, and is just overhanging their heads for forever. But I think KPMG wanted to avoid another hit here to their reputation, and that's why the chairman got involved. And I mean, banks are one of the most complex companies to audit, and all you have to do is look at the audit fees for those banks around the world. And they're huge. They're the largest audit fees because financial services companies are the hardest to audit. And I'm sure KPMG was worried that this would impact their ability to win those engagements in the future and keep those engagements. Now in the UK and Europe, they have to rotate. But if KPMG had this terrible letter out there, anytime they would go to a proposal for a financial services client, this would be hanging over them. This and Carillion, and it would really disable their ability to win financial service audits, or it would lower the chances that they would win those audits. And I think this is actually smart, and I think the Big Four accounting firms and KPMG should do this more in the future. They need to push back against these regulators, and they can't be the stopgap for every single problem, and these regulators can't just get used to slamming the Big Four over and over again. They can't just keep taking all these lawsuits, all these regulation, and expect to have any kind of profitable business. Now, when you're in the Big Four accounting firms, you're constantly analyzing the budgets, etc., for margins. Well, all the margins are going to be disappearing if the big KPMG and the Big Four accounting firms have to fight with every single regulator about every missed thing in an audit. And so they need to be forthcoming with what they can improve, and that's what KPMG is going to do. So all the Big Four accounting firms need to do, but I think the FRC has gotten a little crazy. Other regulators are getting crazy too, so I think it's good for him to get involved here, and I think it needs to get a little bit more involved as well and put a little bit more pushback onto the companies themselves and other areas. But I wanted to talk about another story, but before that, let's take a break. This episode is brought to you by Boomer. Boomer helps you ace the interview at the Big Four accounting firms, and it does this by helping you practice on questions typically asked on the Big Four interview. And if you use the link or promo code which goes to tryboomer.com/big4, or the promo code BIG4, then listeners get 10% off their purchase. So go ahead and check out their website, tryboomer.com, and see if you like all the tools they have that can help you prep for your Big Four interview, and you do choose to purchase it. Make sure to use the link in the show notes, because with that link, you're going to get 10% off, or make sure to use our promo code. All the details are in the show notes. When I was investigating the other KPMG news story, I ran across an interesting article about KPMG and their former CEO, Bill Michael, who had to leave because staff complained about him and things he said on a webcast about telling them to stop moaning about different things and to quit playing the victim. And the way that came out is that staff and people working at KPMG went to the press and they disclosed that. And so as a result of that, KPMG told their staff people, like, hey, we have a whistleblower program. Don't go to the press. Use the whistleblower program first. And I thought that was pretty hilarious, and I'm pretty amazed that I missed that story. But I thought that was hilarious. They tell their staff to go to the whistleblower program. If you went into the internal whistleblower program and think that you're going to get rid of the UK CEO of KPMG, there's no shot that would happen. Maybe a lower level partner, but I doubt even that would not happen. These partners look out for each other, and just be wary of stuff like that. The internal whistleblower program might be able to work if you see some ethical issues on the lower levels of the big four accounting firms, but there's no way it's going to work for the higher levels, and that's like manager and above. It's going to be very difficult unless that person is doing something extremely adverse to the firm's reputation. You have to remember all the things that happen in these big four accounting firms. There's instances like in the US for KPMG where they had partners warning of PCAOB inspections, and a lot of them didn't do anything. So I don't think that that's the way to go. I understand what KPMG is doing here. They're worried about their reputation. They don't want this stuff getting into the press before they know about it. They want to manage it. But if just as a employee yourself, you should be very wary of using those whistleblower programs. They say that they're robust and they've been around and they improve them, but for something of this level, to where it's the highest level of the big four accounting firms, I would not rely on those whistleblower programs. So that was just something that I saw that I thought was laughable, that they want people to whistleblow on the CEO. I'm sure people would be doing that all day long because everybody has a gripe about their boss and the CEO. Maybe the CEO had said something you didn't like on the webcast, and you would put that in the whistleblower program, and they would probably send an email back to you about how it's not really an issue, or it might even go to your person that's managing your performance, and it might go into your file. So I would tell people to be careful about that. There's instances where it might work, but those internal whistleblower programs and those internal HR systems don't really work because all those things are meant to protect the company, not to protect employees. So that's just something to be aware of. So those are news stories for today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast to stay up to date, and make sure to check out the show notes. Thanks for listening.